As we begin to discuss communication, and in particular the communication model, there are a number of things that we'll need to keep in mind. This is an online class, and because of the nature of an online class, it's going to be a different experience than if we were doing this in a classroom. And I want to make this kind of obvious up front because we are going to be approaching communication differently than we would in the classroom. First of all, I have a little video that I created that I want us to watch about communication. Now, it's a little silly, a little goofy, it uses anime, but there's a reason why I'm doing this. So let's watch.
Kenji Oto, I don't understand the model of communication.
It's easy to understand when a master explains it. You are the sender, asking me questions. I am the receiver, who listens to your questions. Your message is a request for information. The situation, context is that you are an annoying little girl who follows me everywhere.
Why do you sound so mad at me?
Because I am giving you feedback, which is another part of the communication model. You can see my angry eyes and hear my angry voice because our channel is face-to-face.
Could you say that again, please? I forgot to listen because I was looking into your eyes.
Pokey, pay better attention. Don't be distracted by interference. That's when something interferes with the message.
You could never interfere.
Well, interference could also come from people around you. Like those two people who are talking too loudly over there and making kissy faces at me.
Thank you. I understand. You are saying you love me more than you love other girls. Hooray. I love you too.
So a quick review here for our model of communication. We have a sender and a receiver. The sender is encoding a message to the receiver, which is going through a particular channel. The receiver decodes it, and then what happens? They give feedback. This is known as the Shannon-Weaver model of communication, although different theorists actually added in that feedback idea. And we know that there is noise or problems, interference, things that keep that message from going completely intact to the receiver. Now, what I want to point out about this, and one of the reasons I made that little video before, is there are all these intangible things that can affect a message and how well it's received. For instance, if you were in the classroom and we were talking about this and I pulled you up to the front of the room and I said, okay, you're the sender, and I pulled another person up and said, you're the receiver, now talk. Give me a message or give the receiver a message, you might process this information differently because you're learning tactily, you're learning in an active sort of way. And that channel makes a difference. If you're watching a video and you see a model such as the one in front of you right now, you might learn this differently because, hey, look, I have two kids in this one. What's up with that? We're adults. Why are we having a picture with kids in it? So that could affect how you get this message. Or maybe you love anime and you just saw that little video and you're like, oh, this is great. And you understand it better or you paid attention more. But maybe you're also going, what is up with that? That was horrible. And then you don't listen or learn. So there's all these intangibles. I could send that same message a number of ways, but whether or not you're going to receive it, decode it, is going to have so many different variables to it. And I just think it's really important for us to pay attention to. When we look at communications, there's so many different words we could use about it. It can be talking, it can be discussing, it could be venting, it could be telling, it could be ordering, it could be healing, it could be relating, it could be communing. And it's important to look at all these different aspects of communication as we get into this. Now, just as a last point, I'm going to put up a couple pictures about communication and the model of communication. I'm going to start out with this one as an example of communication. If we were going to break this down into the model, who's the sender, who's the receiver here? What do you think? Short hair, the sender, or is the lady with the ponytail the sender? Can we tell the difference? One's wearing a jacket, one's not. One has a computer, one doesn't. Who's in charge, who's not? We're going to look at all these things that are kind of hard to put into words sometimes and decide who we think is sending, who's receiving, and whether or not the message is going through intact. We will look at the channel. This is a face-to-face channel, so that's pretty simple. If the woman with the ponytail begins looking at the computer, types in an email, she now has a different channel. She is doing computer-mediated communication, and that will change how things are interpreted. Let's look at another picture. We have two men. Again, it's a business setting, but it's a little bit different here. Neither of them have a computer, but they certainly seem pretty intent. It's clear here who is the sender and who's the receiver. We can look at cues with the nonverbals here and find out who's sending, who's receiving. This is also a face-to-face channel. And if we look at the feedback, the man in the sweater is looking quite intently at the sender, so he is sending this feedback that he is really into it and paying attention. Now, for someone who is listening to this video, who's in the class, there's a couple things that are going to make a difference of what your involvement in this message is. Since I'm sending and you're receiving, it's not just that this is a picture of a sender and a receiver, but in this case, I'm the one who's sending a message to you. It's via computer-mediated communication in a video, and you're receiving, and there's all these things that are going to, again, affect how you receive this. If you are female, maybe you look at this and you're like, yeah, okay, it doesn't really, not about me, so I'm not going to pay attention to it so much. And you might have that interference in here. If you are male, perhaps you might pay more attention because this seems more natural or normal, maybe to you. If you're young, maybe you'll identify with these people because they're probably in their 20s. If you're in your 50s or 60s, you might look at them and say, little whippersnappers. And all of these guesses that I'm making right here, that of what you might be thinking, they may have nothing to do with what you're actually thinking. And because I'm offering all these options and guesses, you're going, that's kind of crazy. That's not at all what I'm thinking. And that might impact how you process this message. And these in communication, we pay attention to all this stuff because it's important. Another example of communication, here I've changed from the business picture to a family picture, and a different understanding, a different way that we interact with this particular message because we have a family. We have the smiles, we have the hug, the touching, the love. So different way that you might interact with this picture. And if I send out a new message about communication, here I've taken away anything that's personal. We have no personalities here. We just have silhouettes and icons. How do you respond to this? Maybe better, maybe worse. Maybe this is something that you respond well to. Maybe it's not. And last week, kids playing telephone, two cans and a string around it. How do you interact with this as the receiver? Is this cute? Is it great? You go, oh, I remember when my kids were little. Or do you think, why do we have kids on here? We're adults. Or maybe you're looking at this and you're going, the resolution on this picture is horrible. It's all blurry and pixelated. Why on earth would anyone pick that picture? But that's one of the reasons I picked it, is because it's not a high quality. And does that affect how you interact with the message, how you're decoding it, how you're interpreting it, the feedback? These are all things that we're going to have to be thinking of. A model of communication seems really clear: sender, receiver, channel, feedback, a situation, interference. Those are all things that are important to look at, but they operate just a little bit differently in every situation or scenario. And that's going to be really important to keep in mind.